Welcome to the enchanting world of the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast. Prepare to be captivated as we embark on a thrilling journey into the realm of spirituality with our remarkable team of a distinctive energy mixture. Leading the way is Mitch Garlington, a gifted gay male witch, touring stage medium, and psychic tarot card reader. With a background in the competitive corporate world and experience as a Cher impersonator, Mitch brings a fresh and unique perspective to our discussions. Next, we have Lucy Locke, a former fundamentalist Christian missionary turned sex shop manager turned professional dog groomer turned psychic medium, trance channeler, and tarot card reader. Her incredible transformation into the spiritual world is truly inspiring. And last, but certainly not least, we have Carly Batten, a second-generation practicing pagan, intuitive oracle card reader, and spiritual mother to many. Carly brings a grounded approach and simple understanding to the complexities of spiritual living. Together, we form an unstoppable podcast as we delve into all things spiritual and the journey of life. Our mission is crystal clear: to spread the message that spirit embraces all and that each of us is on a spiritual path, whether we realize it or not. So buckle up and get ready for an exhilarating adventure with the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast. Please note that all ideas discussed and presented in this podcast are the personal opinions of the individual podcasters and do not necessarily reflect the views of each other or the viewers.
Bye.
Hi, y'all. It's us from Never Cross a Witch Bitch. Oh, I got bubbles on. Do you ever get bubbles right under your lip? I went to talk and I just felt it almost blow out. Anyway, that's disgusting. Welcome to our, what, is it 29th now?
29th, yeah.
29th episode.
Wow, episode. And today we decided we were going to talk about appreciation. I don't know how this is going to unfold, but it's the word that came up for us and it felt like it resonated inside of us. So anyway, I'm Lucy.
Beautiful.
I'm Mitch.
And should I do my NBC News? I'm Carly live from the ponies. Dun, dun, dun.
She's been kicked out of her house by her husband.
That's mean. I haven't quite been kicked out my house. I just thought the poor chap didn't want me squawking away in the background, and he's trying to do invoices. I thought it was a bit crappy, really.
I'd be like,
I've gone live from the ponies.
I'd be like, screw you, Colin, get out of here.
Yeah, so would I. I'd be like, poor, fuck off for a few hours.
Oh, hey, how can I complain? Hang on a minute.
Beautiful out there.
Those who've got smelly vision, are we ready? Appreciation.
That is beautiful. That
Look
is
at
gorgeous.
The sheepies are sleepies.
That's nice, isn't it?
Do you have a toilet out there?
No, I pee in the shrubbery.
Okay, I thought it would hang from a tree. Yeah.
No. I just
That's the way girls have to do it, or else you get shit and piss all over your pants. Right?
So you have to in the bushes.
Oh, I can't squat, so I kind of put my feet at the bottom of the tree and hold on, and then just have my white moon ass just hanging out in the wind, and then you can pee, and you won't get it on your shoes or your.
Unless, of course, it's windy, and then you're really in trouble.
Yeah.
You get blowback.
Get blown back. Unlike
that's
the
why
men,
I've got stable.
Just flick it out anywhere. Yeah. Just covered in some hay.
Yeah, beautiful. So appreciation, we love it. Absolutely love it.
But that is quite nice where you are, because that's almost being able to appreciate the earth around you, isn't it? Like nature's temple on your doorstep, isn't it? Really.
Oh yeah, I'm. You know, when we popped on before you came, Mitch, and Lucy's going, oh, it's amazing. Actually, I suppose because I see it every day. This is something we obviously going to talk about, but because you see something every day, you don't become blasé with it. You don't become like, oh, yeah. You just forget to appreciate it. Like you appreciate it, but you forget to really look at it. Funny enough, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Terry Pratchett writes in one of his witchy stories about having first sight, second sight, and third sight. And actually, when you start to look at that deeper, there's obviously first sight, what you see, second sight when you look back at it again, and third sight when you really look at it and take a moment with that. And when I first read the book, I didn't quite, I understood it in the storyline, but I didn't really appreciate it until I started really thinking about, and then go, oh, that's what he means by third sight, or that's what because you're actually looking at it. And you sat here and we were talking, Lucy, and I looked around and it's just quiet. It's lush, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Except for the
I mean, you might,
wasps.
well, yeah, but they're only munching the wood. But I mean, the birds have shut up now, but the birds were twittering earlier on, and
Mm.
you might hear the odd tractor or aeroplane or circuit. We had the Drift UK, or no, was it the Drift World Championships, the UK leg over the weekend at the racing circuit. So Saturday was a bit, you could hear every 10 minutes. But even that doesn't stop you appreciating. It's just
Sounds like a
lush.
dolphin. You sound like
Oh, yeah.
But it's just lush. And I just don't think I sit and look at it with third sight enough.
Mm.
But
Mm.
we do that a lot in life, don't we, really?
But
Oh, 100%.
that's part of being spiritual, though, isn't it? Like slowing it all down and just sort of almost not stepping out, but just like you say, appreciating what actually exists or where you're at or everything. Because I was chatting to somebody the other day and they were saying about, oh, how amazing it is to do the mediumship and everything else. And yes, it is. But I often get so consumed in feeling not drained, but just, I suppose it's because it's a lot of what I do is back to back stuff. So it's the pressure of like boom, boom, boom. So I don't really have time to sort of think about every little reading I've done. I'm like straight on to the next one. So when you get an outside person that's like really appreciative of the read or the connection with spirit, it does. Or if you've had like a really kind of powerful experience, it does just make you hold the energy a little bit deeper for a little bit longer, doesn't it? Sometimes, you know.
Mm.
Mm, mm. And I think we forget as even just as human beings, not spiritual human beings or pagans or mediums or psychics or anything like that. I think just as general human beings, I think we forget to, look how far we've come on our journey or how much, not always, it's not always a materialistic achievement.
Mm,
Sometimes, go away, wasp. It's not always a materialistic achievement. It's sometimes that, personal achievements like, um, being able to get up in the morning and put your drawers on, which we've spoken about before, but maybe jobs or going and doing something out your comfort zone or, and just appreciating that as a human being is something we do forget a lot. And I think we have to remind ourselves or allow other people to remind us because I think that's really important as well. I think if somebody comes up to you and says, don't forget, I think we must take note of that rather than going, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We must. There's a reason why that person has said, don't forget how far you've come into you, even a short distance. Like, I'm not talking like 10 years. I'm talking like some people it could be a week, some people it could be 2 days, some people it could be 6 months. But I think
mm.
sometimes even on that short span, taking a moment to just inwardly appreciate what's going on. You don't have to consistently run around and say, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Just appreciate what you're doing. I know there's going to be lots of people that are in situations probably at the minute, that are maybe sit and look at their life and go, well, I haven't really got much to appreciate or be thankful for. But I think when you start peeling it back, I think there's a lot. There's a lot to appreciate. A roof over your head and it's things like that. I think we got to take the little things, haven't we? Especially at the minute, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Well, I know when I'm not doing well, emotionally or mentally, that's the first thing that I'll notice is my lack of appreciation.
Ah,
Mm,
okay,
Does that
that's
make sense?
interesting.
So that
Yeah.
to
mm,
me can be a sign of I'm getting into depression, where I'm like, I can't see anything to be appreciative
mm,
for. It just feels like heavy and
Same shit, different
negative.
sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's just blah, kind of blah feeling. That will show me that's one of my triggers early on that I'm like, ooh, I need to look at
Tweaking
myself.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tweak and look at myself and ground and just get myself feeling better about myself because it will be that lack of like I'll start nitpicking inside. Does that make sense?
mm,
Instead of going, you know what, take it for what it is. This is really good. Or, I'll look for the small little things that or not even look, they just become aware to me. Does that make
They
sense? And then
become
I start
mm,
to,
heightened.
mm, mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I just
mm,
lack the appreciation, and that shows me, oh, you're in a downward word going. Because
mm,
when I'm feeling good and I'm optimistic about life, the appreciation kind of comes with that, if that makes sense
mm,
Mm.
of like I could have, 20 quid to my name, but I'm still thankful for, my house and my daughter and my
mm,
other half
mm,
and stuff like that. But when I'm down, that's when and I'm saying this for other people, it could be a trigger sign that
mm,
things aren't, there's depression or something going on there that you need to just be aware of, because the lack of appreciation starts to come
mm,
in and you start seeing the negatives more of every little situation. Because by nature, I'm a cup half full person by nature
mm,
when Lucy's feeling good and well. So when I start looking at things as a cup empty, I know I start to go, that's not my true nature
mm,
of who I am. So
mm,
some people it is their nature. Does that make sense? Like some people are just a little bit more pessimistic, or and that's part of their personality, which
mm,
doesn't make it bad. I
mm,
actually quite like some people that make their pessimism into a humor or whatever. But no, for me, that shows a downward thing
mm,
of going,
mm.
oh, I'm not doing too well when I start going on, inside about things. But
But that's quite nice you can identify that, because then it's
oh,
also
it took a
owning the
while.
healing.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Sorry,
it's
Mitch. Yeah,
I was going to say it's owning the healing though, isn't it? And by having that trigger warning, it almost gear shifts you back into, okay, come on, we've got to keep doing the work here, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's easy to fall off with the sort of self-healing journey, isn't it? Because I think we've all struggled at times, more than once.
Mm,
We will
mm,
still again, but yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I think healing, like I'll talk about it again, is lifelong. Does that make sense? It's just
mm,
it's a spiral. People think it's linear, like, that it goes like this, but it isn't. It's a spiral. Does that make sense? So at the beginning, you're doing a lot of healing, so it's just a constant, but as you start doing more healing, then you're like, oh, I need a little bit of healing there. And then you're all right for a while. Does that make sense? And then
mm,
and that's how it works with healing. And it's not that you're not healed, it's just a deeper area. I look at wounds like wounds. Some go really deep,
yeah.
mm,
you know?
Well,
mm,
it's like I was saying to you guys earlier, I had quite a healing experience at the weekend because I did a whole day of readings in the Froome shop, which was great. It was fabulous. And then the guys asked me, did I want to go out for a drink afterwards? And it was quite nice. And I said yes. And, we went out, we went to this kind of rock gothic little dungeon of a club, but and that was way out of my comfort zone. But it was quite nice to just be amongst people that didn't want Mitch the medium. They were seeing Mitch for Mitch, and that
Mm,
rarely happens. That it happens with you guys, I know, because we've done a lot of stuff before, but it's quite rare that that happens. And also we had it on Sunday, so like me and Paul went out with some of the guys. That I did a hand fasting for, and we've all kind of just gelled and become good friends. And they cooked us a lovely Sunday roast dinner, and we brought little Oscar with us as well, and it was nice. And they weren't wanting Mitch the medium. They just wanted to get to know us as people. So
mm,
mm,
I've not had that for quite a long time, and also it's kind of like in the past when people have wanted me, there's always been a catch or an agenda. So
mm,
my
mm,
instant reaction is no. It takes me
mm,
a lot. That's why when the connection with like Lucy and Colin happened naturally, was very powerful, very beautiful. Because as a rule, I wouldn't have allowed myself to do that. You know,
mm,
mm, mm,
because yeah, my background's always been people will shit on you, so it's better to not have friends. So to have this kind of gear shift, it does make you appreciate, wow, there are people that actually really are starting to like you for you. Because as a kid at
mm,
school, I didn't have any friends. It was survival for me. Childhood, being at college and school was hard because there was nobody that I really had. I was just on my own, because I was the weird
mm,
kid. I was the obviously gay kid, and people couldn't understand or process that. So I was a real loner at school. And I think to now have genuine friends, it is lovely, but it's also quite It's been quite overwhelming, but also I have to let go of the fear and just have the experience.
Mm.
I'll be honest with you, Mitch. Sometimes I just don't know how to be a friend.
Mm,
Because I have a few friends that are like lifelong, where from
yeah.
childhood, does that make sense? They've grown into, and we've been friends for 35 years kind of thing. And then like when I became friends with Mitch, I hadn't had like a friend for a long time. And I
Mm.
was like, I don't know how to do this. You know what I'm saying? It felt really unnatural to me. And I even had discussions with Mitch at the
Mm.
beginning of going, I don't know how to be a friend. I don't know if I'm going to be too much, too little, what the balance is going to be,
We've got a
and
dark sense of humor, haven't we?
yeah, that's what got us going. I'm like, okay, and that's that appreciation. Like
Yeah.
I can be me, and I can be me with you, Carly, where I can say really raunchy, not politically correct things, and you guys know that I don't mean
No.
it. Does that make sense? And that it doesn't, I'm not being mean to anyone. It's just how I talk. I like, you put a boundary, and I'll be like, there we go.
You step
Like I
over
will
it.
put, I like poor Colin. Poor Colin. He's like, can
Oh,
you just leave me alone? The other day, I didn't realize he was like having I didn't know he had a sharp knife in his hand, and I came up from behind him, and I, tickled his bottom, and he was just, right away, and he's like, and then I saw the knife, and I'm like, oh, and he's like, you knew it was there, and I'm like, no, I didn't know the knife was there, and like, so I pants him, the poor guy, but he totally like accepts it wherever we are because he accepts that dark humor, that sick humor in me, and I'm getting my karma because Minnie has it too, and she just
oh. So
oh
she's throwing it all
constantly.
back to you.
Oh, 100% to me. Yeah, I'm just like, now I know how Colin's nervous system just feels on edge. When Minnie walks in the room, I'm just like, what is she gonna do? What's gonna be? Like, grabbed, pinched, pulled. Yeah, so, but yeah, appreciation is I don't like when people say we have to be appreciative. Does that make sense? Because then it puts that pressure on. I think it should be
When it's
a
naturally
natural thing.
acknowledged. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because in my religious days and growing up in the 70s, that was kind of like, you show your appreciation. You show people. And
Okay.
I was super like, thank you, thank you. And if I didn't say it enough, even till now, I have that with my family. You don't say thank you enough. Somehow it's going to blow up in your face that was what you weren't grateful, you weren't appreciative, you know, and that happened again this summer, where I thought I said my thank yous a million times and my things, and then it was brought up that they felt that they were unappreciated coming here, kind of thing, and it's like, what, so it it can be abused.
Yeah,
Mm.
people can
Yeah,
abuse it. But when I
yeah,
think it comes out naturally, like, because when I was in this rock club the other day, and I just thought, wow, I'm around some people that actually I'm not cramping their style. Because that's what I've heard for many years is like, oh, we don't want Mitch because he cramps the style. Do you know what I mean? So it's
really.
quite, yeah,
I,
I was not cool at school. I was just not
neither was I, neither was
not
I.
wanted by anybody. I would literally, I would just go. I don't know. I would just sort of like wander around the field, like when it was kind of like lunchtime and everything, because it was surviving. And there was
Hmm.
nobody that wanted
Mm.
to know me. So, and it wasn't for want of trying. It's just I didn't have my people. I didn't know you guys then, so I was just like, and that's I think maybe why some of my spirituality has become quicker because I think it forced a deeper bond because there was only me, so I had to make peace with me quite quickly.
Mm.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
do wonder sometimes has it stood me in good stead for my mediumship now? Because I think this is why sometimes I get maybe links a little bit quicker or whatever else, because I trust that little bit faster
Well,
than maybe others.
I truly believe that some of the most psychic people have had some of the most, and I think science is going to probably catch up with this in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe even
Mm.
sooner. But some of the most psychic people have some of the most traumatic backgrounds. And I
I
kind
would
of have a
agree.
theory. I have a theory about this. It's that, like you said, that tuning in. So for
Hmm.
survival, let's say you come from a family, I didn't, because I don't want people saying, "Oh, you're saying your family is abusive, like physically and stuff." But let's say you come from like a physically abusive household, right? And you never know your parents are alcoholics or something like that, and you never know what you're going to walk into, right?
Mm.
Your nervous system will naturally heighten, and you will suss out the situation for survival.
Of
And you
course.
begin to
Mm.
read energy and
Yeah, very
feel
quick.
energy very quickly, right? And so, like you were saying, and so for me, school was awful. Do you know what I'm saying? Every day I woke up in fear of what's going to happen today, just dread. And I would go to sleep with dread for however long school lasts for kindergarten to grade 12 for
Mm.
us. I hated it. I hated every day. And that was 5 days a week. I didn't know who was going to pick on me, who was going to do something nasty. And they'd come up with better things every time, to surprise you. Yeah. So, of course, my nervous system was heightened. I began to suss out who was good and who was not going to be good for me, right? And I made mistakes. Well, no, I don't think I ever made mistakes. I think my gut was always right, but sometimes a lot of times I went against my
The human
gut.
inside wanted the human
Yeah, because I
experience.
wanted to
Mm.
be with I wanted to be cool like them, or they offered something that said something about me, because I felt so low about me.
Mm.
But I would have been friends with you, Mitch, because I had like no offense to the friends that I was friends with because you guys were lush, my friends. Back in junior high and stuff, I had some, but we were nerds. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Mm.
one of my friends, I didn't know what gay was at the time. Does that make sense? But one of my friends, Michael, his name was, I would eat lunch with him and we'd sit at the corner, kind of like watching, so no one came around. He was picked on. He was so shy. And then years later, I ran into him at a gay bar and he was flamboyantly out there
Doing
and
it
we
right. Yeah.
skated. Yeah, we hung out for about 2 years after that, doing our thing. And so, yeah, and he was great. But in school, yeah, we were picked on because I, but I ended up becoming close to him and I had no idea. I just liked him for him. I didn't know he was gay, this, that, or anything. I don't even know if he knew. Well, he probably did. I think he did tell me he knew back then that he was gay, but it was unacceptable, especially in
Mm.
19 like 85 and 86 and 87. That would have been a big no-no, you know? So
86. Well, that's the year I was born.
that's the year I was scared shitless to go to school. That's probably when I started junior high, grade 7.
Oh,
But yeah, yeah, no, and I look back and I actually, because of that, I appreciate some of what I went through.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I can appreciate, I don't like the trauma and I don't like to think of anyone going through trauma, but I can appreciate the gifting that trauma brought, how spirit used, because I believe I signed up for that before I started this lifetime. I really do. And that's probably one of the many things that would have come out of that is that you will become in tune with energy due to this, and this, because you'll have no choice but to survive. That's how you'll survive,
yeah. Well,
you
it is
know?
a deep attunement in itself,
Mm.
almost, isn't it?
Mm. And I would lay in bed at night having all these thoughts of like, oh, like just how the kids treated me during the day and this and that. But there was this inside of me, and I felt really guilty for having it. And now I'm like, oh my God, I wish I, like that little girl that knew she was so special.
Mm.
And I didn't
Mm.
know if it was just me making it up in my brain to make myself feel good, but it didn't come from that. It was just there that I knew people were missing out and that my day would come. Does that
Exactly.
make sense? And it did, I'm not saying, but I'm outgoing. My healing has happened because I was shy, believe it or not,
Mm.
shy in my childhood. Shy, not at home, but out in public. Holy crapper, shy, beyond
I
shy.
could see that though, because you do mask a lot of your stuff with humor, don't you? So,
Mm.
Yeah, but then I didn't even have my humor. Does that make
okay.
sense? My humor came in my teens. Yeah, my sarcasm, my humor came in my teen. And I do mask it, but I'm also very real. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I try to be as real as I can,
Mm.
but you don't want to trauma dump on everyone. You, you mean either.
No, I understand. I understand. No, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
What about you, Kylie? What was your background with that, or like? Well, I know you spoke before about having a reasonably okay college days, didn't you? But
Yeah, I mean, I was, yeah, I mean,
she was the
I
cool
think,
kid. She probably wouldn't have wanted to know us. Like,
She had those pictures of her
no,
and her pony. Her best friend was her pony.
yes. Yeah, my best friend was I got slightly distracted because Madam's just walked over to the fence, side-eyed me, gone, "What you doing?" and meandered off again. So I got really well and truly distracted looking at her, saying to her in my head, "Go away, so don't be so nosy." So she's meandered off. Look.
Oh, she's pretty.
Anyway, yeah, let's not talk about ponies. Well, I've briefly spoken about sort of my childhood days. I mean, I had ponies from the age of 8, so I was quite 8 or 9. Um,
I suppose that gives you routine straight away, doesn't it? By having them.
and escape.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I
But then
think
that becomes the appreciation in a way, doesn't it?
yeah, so I think if I didn't have my ponies after school, going through secondary school, it might have been a bit of a different scenario.
Yeah,
Mm.
because you said that you
Um,
wore your pony jackets and stuff like that to school because that's all that
yeah,
you
we didn't
had. You
have a
said
lot of
that in pet.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds
And
very
you
grand,
smelt of
but
horse. You
oh
smelt of
yeah,
horse and
stunk of
stuff.
horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
stunk of horse. Because I went to a London school. Out of 1,000 secondary school pupils, there was only 3 or 4 of us that had horses. So you do tend to stick out a bit like a pimple on elephant's ass.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
everyone else is wearing feeler trainers, and I mean, Lucy, same age as me, so she Reebok pumps. Everyone's wearing Reebok pumps. Everyone's wearing shell suits. Adidas shell suits, naff jackets, whatever else was in at the time. Tiptoe jeans. It was a
Acid
London
wash
thing.
jeans.
Acid wash jeans. Yeah, I was a bit of a brossette, so it was bottle tops on the old shoes and high waisted jeans and all that with your big black belt and juice. Colours of Benetton, all that malarkey. And I didn't have that. I didn't have. I think the most trendiest thing I ever got, which I ended up managing to persuade my mum to get, was a shell suit from the Misty Indian Man on the market from Uxbridge.
Sorry.
Um,
That's excellent.
you
That's
know,
excellent.
and it wasn't Adidas, but it was a
Yeah.
shell suit, and it was trendy colours. And I was like, I went to school on non-school uniform day, thinking I was so cool.
Carly,
It
did
was
you do this to your hair like the satellite dish
yes, I
thing?
backcombed my fringe. Yeah, I did. I did. I did backcomb my fringe. And then I
I should
went
take the blow
into
dryer and blow it up and then hairspray it like that so it
yeah.
just stayed in that freeze position.
But then I had it. Then I had an undercut. So I had the Ravers undercut. So I
Oh,
had the
okay.
bob with the undercut underneath.
Oh,
So yeah,
really?
really,
Yeah.
yeah. When I was 14, 15, 16, I had a Ravers hairstyle, the curtains and the bob cut. But because I sort of went into sort of listening to Alternate and KLF and yeah, Prodigy and all that, um, which I still love. Don't get me wrong. Um, but my school days, I always had a niche of friends. I was never sort of one of the in group, but I was never on my own. I always ended up being with the ones in the middle. But I'd have 2 or 3 friends that I would hang around with.
Hmm.
Um,
But that's all you need. I
Mm.
yeah,
know it doesn't feel that way when you're that age, but
it
that
doesn't.
like
It
I
doesn't
look at
feel
I'm
like
I'm
that way.
like that's yeah, but I'm like that's all you need
Yeah.
because I had my 2 or 3 really good friends in junior high, which is the awkward years, 11 to 14 kind of
Mm.
thing. And they I look back and I'm like we had each other. Do you know what I'm saying? We had
Mm.
each other. We really filled up a lot of time for
Mm.
each other and we're there, sleepovers and like my thing was New Kids on the Block. Me and my friend Louisa and her
Oh, you're a
cousin.
New Kids fan, not a
Oh,
Bros fan.
no, no, Bros
Not
wasn't
good.
very, they were okay in Canada. They only had the one
Yeah.
hit, When Will I Be Famous? But New Kids on the Block, we slept outside to wait for tickets
In my
for
head,
two
I'm
nights.
sorry. In my head, all I've got is going, oh, oh,
Just hanging tough, yeah.
oh. Yeah.
I should show you pictures for my teens. tons of
Yeah,
New Kids
that's
on the
went
Block
over my head.
t-shirts. Yeah. No, I saw them twice in concert when I was a kid, and yeah, I love them. I absolutely love them. And I look back and I go, ooh, that music is a bit cringy. But oh, back in the day, we were doing the dances, me and my friends in their bedroom, and oh yeah, we were talking about who we were going to marry of the five of them, and yeah, yeah. But no, we were there for each other. I don't know how we got on this topic, but yeah.
Oh, we're talking
That's a
about
rabbit
sort of
hole.
being there for each other, weren't you? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think through secondary school, I think if I didn't have my ponies, I think I would have really struggled. Definitely when I was going home, because the clique of friends that I had, well, I'm still friends with one of them. I've met up with her quite a few times, and we sort of chat and things. But they were all busy. They'd go off and hang out with their friends because we all sort of came from different parts of London, so we're close, but not close, if you know what I mean. So after school
Mm.
clubs, one of my friends was in the ATC, another friend played flute, so she'd be off doing flute practice. Somebody else lived all the way over in Northwood, so they'd be hanging out with their friends and doing their things. So actually, sort of within my immediate areas, very few. I mean, I did have the piss ripped out of me at school. I was the chunky girl in school who had hips and boobs. Um, but actually, when I look back on it, I wasn't big. I wasn't fat. I've always been curvy. So I've always had childbearing hips. And I got the piss ripped out of me at school saying I was fat because of that. You know, and I had the horse rider thighs, which I've still got. But I think I did struggle with that.
Mm.
It's not as bad as some, but I did struggle. I think there was one day where I'd had enough. There's one particular kid. I'm not going to say his name. But there's one
Does he
particular
listen?
kid. Was he what?
Does he listen to the podcast?
No, probably not.
Then say his name. It's only a first name.
Oh, Craig Mills. I
Oh,
say
Oh,
his
she
second
said his
name as
last
well.
name.
Craig
But
Mills,
he
we're
does.
coming for you,
Craig
Hexel.
Mills, I'm coming for you. Yeah,
I had
don't mess with
Craig.
me
I had
now,
a Craig in my life
sunshine.
that picked on me.
Did you?
I had Craig.
Did you? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, as a Craig. And he would then instigate the other lads, and then some of the girls would get involved, and it would always be just that niggly name calling. And I
Mm.
think there was one day where I really did wonder if it was worth carrying on. I was
Mm.
that upset. But then there's something about, there was something that would kick in that would go, you can't do that. You know, where's that going to get you? It's not going to get you anywhere. You've got a life to lead. Something would come in and say, you've got a life to lead. You've
Mm.
got something to do. You've got the ponies, you've got this, you've got that. And that would get me out of it. And I don't actually think I ever spoke to anybody at school about it. I think
Mm.
there was my group were aware of it. And a couple of them would snigger, but nobody would. I think it was once somebody said to me, somebody said to him, you've got to stop doing it.
It's quite
Um,
sad, isn't it? How people can, like, with energy, can make or break a situation, because that
mm,
could have, made or broke you, really, couldn't it?
Mm.
By
yeah,
people's
yeah,
humans' behaviour.
yeah, absolutely. But there was just something that was like, and I knew that I had to go up and do my ponies, and that was my. And looking back on it now, talking about appreciation, looking back on it now, having my Jip, my first pony, the amount of times I would go and hug him in the field and just sounds really funny, but if you've got horses or any animals, that smell of that animal. So, if you're having a bad day, hugging the dogs sounds really funny, doesn't it? But that smell, it's like an endorphin, isn't it? And I remember having a bad day and burying my nose in Jip's neck because horses have got that lovely neck that comes out into a shoulder, and there's a lovely little nook for a kid's face just in there, and you can just
Mm.
bury your whole face and just your arms around their neck and just give them a big squeeze and just inhale horse smell.
Mm.
But there's
Beautiful.
something, yeah, it's lovely. But there's just something that does that makes you appreciate, I think if it wasn't for them, the amount of times I've probably cried in a pony's neck. Um, but the smell of them and just being with
Well,
them
that
is
makes
just,
sense why you have the ponies to this day. That is
yeah,
locked in from your childhood, that the comfort
And
and the
it gives.
unconditional love that it gives you. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any animal, because I mean, you look at, I think really. you see these. I follow a chap on he's in America. I don't know if you guys follow him. Have you ever at Asher House? A gentleman who does the Asher House, he does rescue. Oh, he went and bought a 240, 250 acre um property so that he could basically he's got like a pack of 30 dogs that were his own dogs that he rescued, and then he helps rehome other dogs. So he got rescued 30 dogs and then couldn't get rid of them
Wow,
because he
that's
didn't want to. Because he didn't
30
want to.
Oscars.
Yeah,
not
30
good
Oscars.
imagine.
Yeah. But he just like he pointed out one day, I mean, he rescues dogs from some appalling situations. He rescued this Great Dane and she honestly she was so stick thin. But as soon as he walked in the door, because he's sort of expelling this loving energy and this loving, oh my God, I want to help you. She stood up and come over, and it doesn't matter what's happened to her with human beings, she still wanted to come and be his friend. And you
That's
just think animals do that, don't they? They just give you that bit of its being unconditional and having that appreciation for somebody to say without even having words, for a being to be able to say without words, I've got you. You're okay. You've had a crap day. Here's my neck. Have a cry. Or here's an ear roll. Have a dribble. A dribble in my
Well,
ear roll. Go on.
what just came to me is they're kind of a representation of Mother Earth herself. They are so connected to the earth. Does that make sense? They're so connected
Yeah.
to the rhythms and the timings and they're primal, by nature that it is a representation of Mother Earth and how much she loves us and how we can the energy. Does that make
Mm.
sense? They can read energy and
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and you're able to let go and
Mm.
heal,
Mm.
with animals. Like I've seen friends, I have a friend that their son, they were worried about their son and they got him. I talked 3 years ago and I said, you should get him a dog. And they did. And that dog is his best pal. Does that make
Mm.
sense? And he's done really well because it's something to take focus off of himself too.
mm,
Mm.
And then the dog also gives him all that love unconditionally back
Mm.
that he has a hard time receiving from people and not trusting from people. Like for me, my spiritual journey started long ago, but it really ramped up, believe it or not, when I was dog grooming.
Mm.
Because I realized my energy, they can read it and I can read their energy. And we
mm,
can
Mm.
start communicating with each other through energy. And
Mm.
I was quite a wound up person, and dogs, I'm still am a wound up person, but they started to help me feel relaxed because I knew, okay, to relax this dog, they've got to trust me. So I need to feel relaxed in their presence so that they
Mm.
start to trust me and feel safe in this environment that doesn't feel safe to them, you
mm.
know?
Mm.
And that
Mm.
was huge for me. That went to a spiritual level for me,
Mm.
you know? And
It's
yeah,
I was gonna
no,
say
go
it's
for it.
quite. I was going to say, even things as small as a budgie. I tell you what made me just have a thought talking about sort of appreciation of energy and putting the energy out there. Um, so as you guys personally know, I've taken on an extra little job helping a lovely friend of mine currently. And she has got a budgie called Beryl. And
Oh,
she's yellow. She's yellow. She's all yellow. I've nicknamed her Beryl the Yellow Peril because she's normally as noisy as you like. So she's a beautiful little thing, but she sits there and she's quite chatty. Um, and last week, no, I can't remember. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I walked into when you walk into my friend's house, you walk into a lobby. It's quite a long hallway, which the end is doorwayed. So it's double doorwayed, and then it's doorwayed into the living room, and then it's doorwayed into the second living room, and it's doorwayed into the kitchen. And she basically lives in the kitchen, to be fair. And she had somebody in the house that she wasn't particularly happy with, which is fine. But I opened the front door and it was like walking into a fridge. So I could feel the energies were off even before we started. And
Mm.
normally, by the time I opened the second door, my horse is walking around with a big bit of bramble stuck in her tail, silly mare. Anyway, so I walk into the second door And normally, when you walk into the first living room, into the second door, you can hear Beryl going, tweet, 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 flap, 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 tweet, 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 tweet. And I walked in and I was like, it's a bit blinking quiet in here, isn't it? Even because Beryl sits in the kitchen. And I was like, what's going on? It's like, feels like an icebox. Even the bird is quiet. And then I walked into the second living room and it was like literally walking into a walk-in freezer. By the time I walked into the kitchen, I don't know what had gone on, but the human beings in the room were not happy. And neither was the bird. She was just sat there on her perch. And like, when somebody's like, don't move, just don't move. If you stand still, they won't notice you. Just don't move. And this poor little bird was like sat on a perch. So I walked past, she like side-eyed me, and I looked at her and she looked at me, and you could hear us like you could see her thinking, what the hell is going on?
She probably
So
was relieved that you were there.
I
She's like, oh, thank God, there's a human to save me.
There's a human. There's a human could come and disconnect all this whatever's gone on, but just that energy, just that poor little bird was like sat in it. So obviously my
But
friend and
there's
this
been like a fight before or something then there, or
there was I think there wasn't a fight. I think there was just a little bit of
miscommunication, maybe.
yeah, a little bit of miscommunication, which had then caused a little bit of coldness and a little bit of,
Bit of
friction,
frosty
shall
in
we
the
say.
room, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah, a little
that's
bit of frostiness in the room. And Beryl instantly was sat there going, oh, I daren't move. I daren't move. I'm just going to sit and not say anything because I'm going to hide in the corner. But so even something as tiny as that, um, she actually made me realize, so 2 weeks before, I'd actually had a conversation with how budgies or birds see the world. So I had a little bit of a Google research, and birds are really, and we say about animals being sensitive, but birds are really sensitive to our energies and and how we deal with things. So, I really appreciated poor Beryl when I walked in and she was sat there, and I thought, oh, poor little duck. But then it made me really aware of where I was putting my energy and how I walk through the door because she's right by the door. So I'm now really aware of how I walk. So I don't walk through going, oh, because otherwise she goes, oh. So poor little thing. But it made me appreciate actually how powerful our own energies are, and we don't even realize it. It was a bit
Big
of a
time
moment.
powerful.
Yeah, it was a bit of a
Yeah.
moment where I was like, oh, that's a bit of a lesson there, Beryl, the yellow peril. Thank you very much. I'll bear that in mind for next time.
oh, every day's a school day.
Every day is a school day.
Yeah, we saw that in
Most.
the group shop. I saw that all the time. And that's when I started realizing too, energy. We would have like me and like 6 to 8 other people would be in a room like this size, honestly, with dogs on the table, just,
Oh,
and you're like blow dryers, just and clippers. And yeah, and it was loud. It was like, and you learn to tune out, right? I actually like would tune out, but we would, because you're on edge, we would get into fights with between groomers and bathers, and
Mm,
yeah, and there would be sometimes words exchanged in real like "Meh, meh, meh." So the customers, they can't hear, like it's a soundproof area, right?
mm.
But they're, but you most of the time if customers would just come in, and sometimes you thought they were a bit obnoxious being dragged by their dog in or whatever. But whenever I saw it, every time we had some sort of disagreement or fight in the groom shop, a customer would come in and go, is it, can I come in? Not knowing we had a fight, but they could feel
They could feel the
that
energy. Yeah.
energy. Yeah. Yeah. That something wasn't right. And you're,
yeah.
you're like, oh, yeah. Then we'd all be like, yeah, hello, welcome, yeah, we were like, you fucking bitch, and, at each other. But then as soon as the customers come in, we're like, hello, stop. And they'd be like, is it okay? Oh, I've got my dog here for 2 o'clock. And you could sense, they could tell the atmosphere. You could cut it with a
Yeah,
knife,
with a knife.
Yeah.
And even though we were trying to put on our best customer service face at that time, it's amazing, but people really don't appreciate. Does that make sense?
Mm,
The
Mm.
energy that they hold. Like I struggle with people maybe where they don't It's quite manipulative. They're sulky, or does that make sense? Like there's a time and a place to be sulky at times. So I'm not saying anyone that goes into a sulk is like being manipulative, because you can go into genuine sulk and have a moment of like, I feel sorry for myself, and that's okay. But there's people that use it and they know they have that energy to use it in a
Mm,
room to make you go, "Oh, is everything okay?" You know how you get the feeling like it's like,
mm,
They
yeah.
move
mm,
the energy quite a lot, don't they? Almost, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I just find that kind of shit
mm,
Well, it's
really
manipulative as well.
manipulative and detrimental to spirit and how energy works,
mm,
Mm.
But
mm,
you get that. I really struggle with people like that, actually, because I want to do the opposite. I don't want to say, is everything okay? But then there's the part of me that feels I have to appreciate and like, go up to them and like, is everything okay? But you
mm,
know that they're just doing it to get
And
attention or cause a friction, or, to get something to go their way without saying, I'd like it to go this way.
mm.
This is what I'm feeling, and using their voice and the power of their voice and articulating, you know what? I'm not really feeling what you guys are doing. This is what I think could happen. You appreciate that more than the,
mm,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
mm. That's an interesting conversation. You're talking about moving energy. Perhaps we might have to do that on a podcast at some point in time. Earlier on we were talking about that lovely friend, mutual friend of ours who's got the shop.
Yeah.
And her shop is created with her putting out things like when we make things and Bardware make things and you guys do what you do and you love what you're doing, so you're putting your energy into it. And our lovely friend putting the energy into her shop. But then she receives a lot of donations that have had um, inadvertently, without people knowing, had negative energy put into those objects because
Well,
then,
so you could maybe even have haunted objects and not know, because spirit can attach to an
mm,
item, can't they, as well? And you
well,
see
I
that
Yeah, or
had,
quite.
the energy, that negative energy, if you want to put it
mm,
that way, if people don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
you see that quite a
100%.
lot with like with antique shops and charity shops and different things, don't you?
And it's
Yeah.
interesting how you're talking about sort of manipulating that and moving that energy, that we do it a lot of the time and don't appreciate, like you say, don't appreciate our strengths. Um, and I think we are a lot more stronger than we realize with our moving our energy and our negative energy and our positive energy and what we do, and how, like you say, Lucy, people walking into rooms and moving the energy into that point of making somebody then say, "Are you okay?" without
Mm,
even having to say anything.
It's interesting you're
That's
talking about like objects and stuff, because I always remember I had this big canvas. I don't have it anymore, but I had this really, really lovely big canvas painting, and it was done by some artist in Glastonbury. I can't remember her name, and it was really lovely, really beautiful, really spiritual. But I always felt the image, even though it was beautiful, there was a real sadness to the image, and I could never sort of figure out why. Anyway, I ended up getting rid of it. I think I sold the thing on, and then I found out later on that the person that I originally got it from, or who had donated it to the shop, had been in a really abusive relationship with her partner. So all of that
mm.
hurt and sadness was sort of
mm,
locked into that canvas. So even though the canvas itself was lovely, there was all that sort of sadness and hurt within the picture.
She might have
mm.
looked at that canvas too, or at times. Does that make sense with her
Yeah,
sadness?
She might
yeah.
have
And maybe
picked it up,
thought,
picked up a
yeah,
paintbrush and painted it at that,
yeah. But yeah,
with a
like
bit hint of sadness.
I
Mm.
had a similar circumstance. As before Colin, I had a boyfriend for 2 years, and we lived. We ended up moving into a place together, and the house that we got, the previous people, it they they had had a nasty divorce, and it came out that there was like cheating and stuff like that. So we got to know the neighbors, and they said this house, every person, because they'd been in this, it was a newer neighborhood, so the house wasn't super old, it was probably 15 years old kind of thing. They said every person that's been in it, every couple that's been in this house, the guys cheated on the wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was like, oh, and so we were like, oh, Minnie was just a little girl at that time, but I was standing at the top. It had this huge staircase, right? Like this. And I don't know what the hell happened. I've never fallen down a flight of stairs, but I felt pushed and I went down, down hard. I slammed my head and then just slid all the way down. I remember Minnie just yelling, "Mom!" like that. And I got to the bottom and yeah, you just kind of like your body's like
What the
in
fuck was that?
Mm.
shock. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, make a long story short and a very gruesome story very short, he cheated on me savagely and it ended up being brutal. Brutal. Like we had some serious blowouts in that house. And like yeah, and so I don't think I think the house energy maybe helped him. Does that make sense?
Mm.
But it's weird that then another that's added to the tick of the neighbors of going, yep,
That's
that
another
house
one.
has got that house has got something going on there
Mm.
that's not
It
very
does make me
nice.
wonder, is there like a residual energy playing out through the people that come in as characters for the home almost?
Mm,
Mm.
yeah.
So is the energy almost using the characters like sort of chess pieces in a way, I suppose,
It
really?
feels like that. It felt like that, like The Shining. Have you ever seen The Shining, where yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
goes up to the cabin and it's happened before? Does that make
Mm,
sense? But he is a perfect fit for it happening again. And I would say
Mm.
that this guy I was with was a perfect fit, but then the atmosphere of the house was not good. Even though the house looked absolutely, oh, it was a beautiful home. Does that make sense? Like I would, and it taught me a lot because I was more into the home than I was into the relationship. And actually, I wanted to get out of the relationship, and spirit ended that.
Mm.
I wanted
Mm.
to get out. The house didn't mean fuck all to me after a while when the relationship was
Perhaps,
so gross. you know?
perhaps that's why you were drawn to that house in the first place.
Oh,
yeah.
100. It was a big learning
Mm.
lesson for me to
Mm.
get that out of the way in me because I realized that does not matter to me. It's nice to have nice things and it's nice to have a nice home, but
Mm.
my happiness, like Colin and I lived in that, I got moved to Quimmerford, which I lived there for, oh, 8 years. And then Colin moved in with me afterwards. Mitch has been there. It's just a little two up, two down, kind of terraced little squeezy house, but we had the most beautiful memories in that house. We outgrew it, and now we're in
Mm.
a quite a large house that I really adore. But that 8 years, I knew I didn't want to go back to where I was before. I'll take the small house. I'll
Yeah.
take the
Mm.
small house, yeah, and be happy and have Minnie
Mm.
be raised in peace, and in fun than that. Yeah.
It's like with one of the flats that me and Paul used to live in when we first moved back to Westbury. It was never like haunted or anything, but it just had a very weird feeling. And visually, it
Mm,
was beautiful. It was lovely. It was all done to a very high standard. But there was just something about the energy where I hated being there on my own. I always felt like I was
mm,
being watched in the hallway. I think something must have happened in the hallway, whether someone had like a really bad fight or there may have been an accident or something, but it was just full of real like despair almost. And I couldn't even put my finger on it. And that's before I really understood energy. And I used to say to Paul, like, do you get this feeling? And he would be like, yeah, I can feel there's something off. And it's weird, isn't it? How you can have the most beautiful, visually lovely place, but the
hmm
energy that it's holding can be so different.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
It was a huge
Uh,
learning lesson for me. Huge one
mm.
of what my value systems. It's like Spirit was almost saying, is your value system here or is it here?
Yeah.
Mm.
Does that make sense? And I had to go through it to go, my value system's here. I don't need that. I don't want that. This guy potentially offered a way more luxurious life than I've had with Colin. Does that make sense? But
Yeah.
it's not worth it. Fucking no way. My peace and my happiness and just joking around and having a laugh and just the feeling in the home. It doesn't matter if it's a cardboard box. Like I wouldn't want to live in a cardboard box, but you know what I'm saying? It showed me that that is way more important than,
Yeah, having the
Mm.
right type
than
of energy, rather
yeah,
than the glitz and glam, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
And the universe or spirit had to push you in that direction to get you to
100%.
choose that house for you to enable to wake up and go, this isn't what I want. So at the time, you see, you now can appreciate, we're talking about appreciation, you now can
Hmm.
appreciate that that was the path that you were put on. But at the time, you would have gone, what the fuck is this shit? Why am I being dealt this? Why have I got to deal
Yeah.
with this crap? At that moment in time, you would have gone, well, blow this for a game of fucking soldiers. I'm off, or you would have sat there and gone, oh my God, why me? Why this? But now you can go, oh, that's why you did it. That's why I was given this house. That's why I was given that opportunity because I was starting to look at the world too materialistically. I was starting to think that having nice house and
Hmm.
this you were swinging the slightly off the path where you should have been possibly going. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, they had to grab you by the shoulders and give you a very firm shake.
Yeah. And
So,
that right after that, when I moved into that house, I met Colin like maybe a month later. Um, and then I got my first tarot read.
Yeah, and then everything
And that,
started to open up, didn't it?
and there
yeah,
you go.
yeah.
Look at
Once I
that.
moved out of that house, then I found out my neighbor two doors down ran circles. So I joined her circle and we ran it out of my house most of the time. Like after a while, we ran it out of my house and stuff. So yeah, it just kind of went like that
Mm,
after I left him. But I had to get over that hump of what do you want, Luce?
Mm.
And
mm,
it seemed to clear out a lot of shit in me. Does that make
mm,
sense? Of like, no, I
mm,
don't want, like, of course I want to have a nice life and a comfortable life. Don't get me wrong. And it's all right. But at that time, I was going with the wrong motives
mm.
Yeah.
at the
Wrong
wrong time.
priorities.
Yeah.
Wrong
Yeah.
priorities. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. And I think, like you say, you're looking now. You can look back on it and understand and probably well this is the first sight, second sight, third sight, isn't it? And
Mm.
there'll be so we're having this conversation, you may well go away from this conversation and look at it again in a completely different way and have that third sight and then appreciate it deeper.
Yeah.
When we were talking, I was talking to a mutual friend on the weekend, and I said to her, I said, just think all those years ago, if she hadn't had the conversation with my sister-in-law at market,
Hmm.
she would not be doing and seeing, and she would not found a path that she was on now. And
Hmm.
you could see that I said to her, I said, just think how far you've come, and you could see that moment of gratitude and that moment of look what I've done, or look how far I've come. And she sat there and it was lovely. She sat there and she said, I'm very proud of myself. And that I think is really nice because we
Hmm.
don't say it outwardly enough.
Mm.
And she said, I'm really proud of myself. I said, yeah, you should be. You should be really proud of yourself. And she made me stop and think, it made me stop
Hmm.
and think about everything that we do and everything that Bardware does and just yeah I yeah I just I don't it just made she made me stop and think made me
Hmm.
and I thought fair play being brave to say I'm really proud of myself because that's a brave thing to do. She would never have done that 2 3 years ago. She would have
Hmm.
I don't know whether or not she would have said it 6 months ago, actually, to be fair.
And I see that as self-care, self-love. I don't see it as ego
Yeah.
or anything like that. I think it's
No, no,
self-care,
Hmm.
no.
self-love. It's just being really at peace with your inner spirit, isn't it?
Oh
Hmm.
yeah,
Because
absolutely. And
so
you can
many people
see it.
are scared to, because, obviously with the amount of readings I do, so many people are, that's a common thing. They are scared to celebrate themselves for fear of, is someone going to take this away from me?
Hmm.
Mm,
And I'm learning, no, they can't. Only you can
Yeah,
let them do that. Does that make
exactly.
sense? The only thing is that you can let them do that,
100%.
But I used to always think they took this away from me. They just, as I put out there that I was happy, they took my happiness away. And it's like, no,
but you
I
let
was
them.
I was too loose with my boundaries, my energy. Does that make sense? When you can
Mm.
put it out there, but it's still protected, like Mitch taught me about a year ago that I use all the time now, and it has been a lifesaver. Is okay, I'm holding my energy, and then I go, "Woof," mirrors. Does that make
Mm,
sense? So I could put my
Yeah,
happiness out there, I could put my joy out there, but I protect it with the mirrors of whoever wants to come against that, it's just going to be reflected right back at them. It's not going to penetrate into my happiness, my joy, my pride, my what I'm proud of, or
mm.
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
And the mirror doesn't hurt. It just sends back that
No.
unwanted energy to the sender, you know?
Yeah,
Mm.
but it's worked massively. I have seen how things don't rattle me as much as they used to. You know, I do it
That's
when I go
good.
into the fairs, and when I first started going into fairs, yeah, I was like, oh my God, this reader beside me is like this and this and this, you know, and I was like that to you, Carly. I would say stuff like, hey, really, really rattled my energy. And I'd say to Mitch, oh my God, I'd text him, this is really tough. I'm surrounded by blah, 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 blah. And this is it. He said, put the mirrors up. So I went out to my car and I did it. And you know what? I didn't even feel them next to me the rest of the, and that was at your 2 day fair. I didn't even feel them next to me. And then like I've had it with other readers too, where they're just not, we're not on the same wavelength. Our value
Yeah.
systems with readings is different too. And I'm like, they're not a bad person. I'm just not, their energy is like, does that make sense? And I've had
Set right.
a couple where and spirits put us twice, me and her, next to each other. Right? And I just like, oh brother. But again, I practice putting up the because I don't want to take away from her. I
Mm.
don't. Does that make sense? But I put up the mirror and I don't even realize they're there. They can do their it protects them too. They can do their own thing. Does that make sense? And they don't have to feel my loose energy going to them, going, I don't, I just keep it in, mirror up and it really really works and it's not just for me, it's for the people around me too, for that person. I really
Mm.
think it works both ways.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, where it stops them if they feel mirrored back, then they go, oh, I don't, well, so they stop their energy. Does that make sense? and
Mm. I was
and
going to
and then
say
you could
that would
just
make
that
them retract theirs and be
yeah
aware of
and then
theirs because
exactly
people
and
do
then we can work
forget.
in peace. Yeah, and then we can just
Mm.
work in peace that she's there, I'm here, let's do it.
Yeah, you're still
Mm.
working for the same master, aren't you, really?
Exactly, 100%.
Mm. And
100%.
people do forget that even spirit. I mean, muggly people forget all the time. Muggly people don't even realize they're doing it. But spiritual people do forget to mind their energy outputs. They forget to monitor what they're doing, um, and where they're putting stuff. I mean, walking through the healing weekend and walking through the healer's tent is a fantastic example. I mean, I remember walking through there the first time. I've not, unfortunately, not been drawn to go back to the healing weekend. So there was obviously a learning curve for me. The first time I walked through there, there was people liberally scattering people's energy everywhere. But I didn't,
Mm,
being there's being spiritually aware, and there's really starting to like, okay, I need my Teletubby belly out and sorted. And without even thinking, I sort of walked in there and didn't have my Teletubby belly. And,
mm,
I sort of come out the other end and felt rather shitty, actually. I felt quite sick because
Mm.
I'd
mm.
walked through healers willingly throwing other people's shit into the walkway.
Well,
you know,
sometimes healing, yeah, healing. I think healing to me, you and Mitch can be very different than healing to other people. Does that make sense?
yeah,
I went
yeah,
to a
yeah.
fair that wasn't anyone that I knew. It was like I was filling a spot for someone and I got called into this fair and it was I thought, okay, I'll go. For the majority, it was odd because there was odd people, like I didn't feel like I fit in, but there was this woman beside me and she was doing like I think what she did probably was very very powerful, but it shouldn't have been done in a fair setting. Does that make
Uh,
sense? Like a
yeah,
healing weekend setting. It should have been done in a private
like a private
thing.
room sort of thing. Yeah.
Because she was doing this like low, deep, or like really loud and like
Oh,
had
it
her hands on the
sounds, yeah,
person
yeah.
and then going, and it actually made me, I came that close to throwing up.
Oh
The
wow.
vibration and the loud and just the energy of it, it was so low. But maybe that person she was dealing with had a lower
Mm.
vibration that they were dealing with, but
Yeah,
it
maybe
should have
that
been done.
frequency was for what they needed, but not what
Mm,
others need
what
around
we
you.
needed, because I was like, fucking hell, I had to get, I had to get up and go outside, and I think I texted you too, Mitch, at that fair, but I was just like, I just felt ill, absolutely ill, and
Mm.
much like you, I've never had that, Carly,
Mm.
Mm.
where I'm like, there is some sort of the tone of it. and the vibration of the energy, I was like, it's too low
much.
for
Mm.
me. Yeah.
But it's interesting you guys are saying that, because when I get that when I go to Glastonbury, because loads of people go there to be empowered. I just find it's like a
I don't
big
find it
old,
anymore. When the first I
I
went there,
can't do the
yeah.
high street.
yeah,
Can't
it's
do
like
the
a
high street.
dumping ground because everyone's going there, they're dumping their shit, and where is that going? It's got to go
Mm.
somewhere, hasn't it?
I mean, I can just about, well, I can walk up the high street, but I do walk up, um,
I've been ripped
very,
off there so many times too. The people
oh,
that run
yeah.
shops there don't have
No, not
good
all of them.
moral
The
compass. Yeah.
one the one shop that was amazing. Well, obviously the wonky broomstick. We don't go wrong with the wonky broomstick. But obviously the one shop that I loved was Cat and Cauldron. So the green shop at
Oh
the
yeah,
bottom.
they've gone, haven't they? They must be good.
Oh, they've gone. I love that shop. That was probably one of my most favorite. Well, it was my favorite shop. It was a proper witchy bric-a-brac shop,
Yeah.
and the bookcases in there went all the way down to the floor, and you had to sit in the tiny little aisle to look at the books on the floor. But it didn't matter. Everybody quite happily walked over the top of you. They were like, "Oh, sorry." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." They go, "That's all right." I'm like, "Okay, I won't move." And I loved that place. It was amazing, and that was probably there's a crystal shop on a corner somewhere that me and Emma walked in, turned around, walked out. We walked in, went huh, and walked back out again. Um, it's just everything else in the high street, just like you say. I think everybody goes there on a, I use the rabbit ears, pilgrimage. Everybody goes there
Mm.
because it's the thing to do. And I think there's a lot of people, as because it's a dumping ground. Well, it's not a dumping ground, but because I think a lot of people go, "Oh, I'm at Glastonbury," it instantly goes like that, but they
Mm.
don't realise they're doing it. The place I love being is up on the tour because the wind just takes all the shit away. I love being up on the tour. That is one place that really resonates with me.
I wish there was a
Um,
stair lift to get up there, but apart
I know.
from
Yeah, I've done
I,
it.
I don't mind. I don't mind the walk. I don't mind the walk.
Yeah, me
Don't
sitting
mind
in
it
my
I
at all.
Davros chair here, just going up the side of it.
I love it when you're at the top, but it's like, oh, it's so knackering. It's just getting up, isn't it? And it's like,
I don't mind.
oh,
I get my hobbits walking stick out. I'm quite happy to get up there.
The
And
Avebury does it for me.
I love
Avebury,
Avebury.
yeah,
Yeah, I love
it's a.
Avebury. And the Abbey, I love for some obscure reason. It really feels like going home when I go to the Abbey. But you guys know about my experiences in the Abbey, and every time I have a visual experience, it is in the Abbey. Last time
Mm,
it was monks. Last time it was a monk ghost. Um, but yeah, it's Glastonbury is definitely a deposit because I think everybody walks in and goes, oh, and just drops it all, and they don't realize they just don't realize they're doing it, do they?
what I would say with
mm.
Glastonbury as well, and it's something I've noticed with lots of other readers and mediums, in the beginning stages, a lot of people, when they do get an invitation to work in Glastonbury or do a demo or whatever they end up doing,
It's
they
a
really,
graduation. It's a real graduation. It
it
used to be
it
considered
is,
something. Yeah.
but also it's that it kind of also I think reaffirms to people you can be spiritual anywhere, and if you once you've done Glastonbury, I think it also is that reminder of like I don't need this anymore. Because for many years I was like I'm not a medium or I haven't not made it until I'm in Glastonbury, and then when I was in Glastonbury working, I realised actually I don't need this. I can still be a medium
Mm,
outside of
Mm,
Glastonbury. So I've done some great stuff there. Don't get me wrong. In various shops, about 3 or 4 shops I've worked in there. Done a few demos in the Georgian Pilgrim and other places. But I've also realised I don't need the title of Glastonbury to still be a recognised medium.
mm,
And I think when you have that, that's quite powerful. With us talking about acceptance and everything else, and just appreciation. And I think it
mm,
makes you appreciate your giftings a little bit more.
mm.
mm.
I think the Glastonbury thing, I think tends to be because it's always been seen as like a pilgrimage site, or it's got obviously
Yeah, it's a place
got
for
connection.
mystics, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's got Mary Magdalene. It's got an attachment with King Arthur. It's got all that Avalon. It's got all that mysticism. It's got all that magic, and it is a place to be seen. It's like being seen in the Fairfax and Favour tent at badminton, isn't it? It's just
Mm.
it's that place to be seen, and I think you're quite right. I think if you haven't got that drawing to go to Glastonbury, If you want to say, oh, I've gone and been and seen it and done it and it's not a thing for me, then that's great. But if you haven't got that drawing, I think sometimes I think we have to accept that you don't have to go and do that bit if you don't want to do it. You
Yeah,
know, don't,
definitely.
Oh,
don't,
exactly.
that's what I'm sort of trying to say. You don't feel
Yeah.
as though if you're on your spiritual journey, don't feel as though you've got to go to Stonehenge and you've got to go to Avebury and you've got to go to Glastonbury. If you out of curiosity want to go, great. But it's yeah, I think Glastonbury's definitely, I think a lot of us feel as though been put on a spiritual pedestal because it's the place to be seen. And like you say, when you get there, you're like, oh, okay, I've done that. Don't really need it, but thanks very much anyway. So again, another, like Lucy being pushed towards the house, isn't it? We need you to have this to realize to do that so that you
To
then
appreciate,
appreciate
yeah, what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what
Because
you
like I
want.
was just thinking what you were saying there, like people take it as a pilgrimage and they go, wow, I went and da da ha on Glastonbury, and like I've known like people that I've counseled, okay, that have done things that I go, wow. And they're the most fucked up people because they're looking at the outside of what it looks like
Mm.
Yeah.
and they're not actually doing the work. So I've met people that are like, oh, I've spent a year in India in front of my guru, and
Yeah.
it looks all good and they're wearing the cotton clothes that match. Do you know what I'm saying? And they look very natural and this or that. But they're not, they have no attunement with who they are.
Yeah,
They
the
don't,
Does
damage.
it does
they're
it sound
damaged.
really
Yeah.
bad? Yeah. Does
Oh,
it sound really bad when somebody says to me, it's happened a couple of times when people have been in conversation, and I can't remember exactly where, but people have gone, "Oh yeah, I'm on my spiritual path, and I went to India for 6 months." Why is it when people say that, my stomach goes, "Oh, for God's sakes."
because it is about what it looks like
Oh,
to
okay.
what it
That's why
is.
my inner me goes, "Oh God, not
It's
you
like
as
the
well." Or
tourists going, I spent,
I went to Glastonbury.
I went, yeah, or I went
I
to,
went to Stonehenge.
I know London because I took my picture in front of the Buckingham Palace for a couple of minutes and then I went on to the next thing. And you don't know London, you've not spent any time
Yeah.
there. And I'm not
That ain't the
saying
Yeah.
real
six
London.
months, but I'm not saying, sorry?
I said that's not the real London.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
streets of
No.
Soho.
Yeah, exactly. But like 6 months in front of your guru, there's such a thing as called spiritual bypassing. And a
Yeah.
Oh
lot of
yeah,
people
we have
do it.
spoken about this
A
before, haven't we?
lot of
Yeah.
people do it where they
Yeah.
will not look at the shadow and they will not deal with their crap. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
think because I can read and because I can hear from spirit, I'm a-okay. And it's like, no, it's
Yeah.
going to come and haunt you at some point because
Mm.
spirit wants to clean that up because you can end up being biased in your readings. Does that make sense? Have agendas in your readings because you haven't dealt with your own poo. You can end up projecting stuff because you don't like that person. There's lots that go on, and counselors are the same. If they don't deal with their stuff before they go working as a counselor, they're going to struggle a
Mm.
lot because things
Mm.
come up and you go, "Oh, I don't like that." But you're not supposed to be like that. In counseling, you
No,
have to
that's
be
not.
accepting.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And work with where the person's at. You can't have an agenda of what you want to see their life be like. It has to be what they want to see their life work like, and you work with them. So I've had clients where I'm like, is that really the life you want? You know?
Mm.
And I could see like that's going to hurt you, but they're adamant that they want healing so they can have that kind of life. And you're like, okay, because that's their
Yeah.
journey. It's not mine, and it's hard. But but my point was is that yeah, they go up there and it's like they can say they've been with the guru,
Mm.
and it makes it
I mean,
automatically
It's more of an image
spiritual.
thing, isn't it?
Your
Rather
mm,
spirit,
than
exactly. You're spiritual because you went and sat with a guru,
mm. I'm
and
not
I
saying
think
everybody's like that. I mean,
no,
you
and
know.
I don't. I have some like I have a guy that I've a load of his books up there. I love him to death. He's passed away a couple of years ago, but his name's Ramdas, and he is like super cool. He was a psychologist that taught at I think it was Harvard, and he started to experiment with psychedelics um, in 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 practice with psychology, and he ended up getting fired from Harvard. And then he went on a pilgrimage for years in India and met his guru and sat with his guru and did the work. And he talks about the
Mm.
work. Does that make sense? And he talks about, and he's just incredible, and he's made mistakes and he's open about his mistakes, and and but he's got incredible insight that I really appreciate about him, and plus
Mm.
he's really down to earth and quite funny. And so I've read a lot of his books, I've listened to a lot of his talks because his stuff resonates with me. But he's someone that went to India and did the work, and he has some
That's the
incredible
difference, isn't
stories to
it?
tell.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Just to say, guys, we're kind of over the witching hour. Sorry. Like,
Yeah, I'd love to go to, well, I don't know if I'd want to go to India. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's stuff that makes me nervous about it, but I would love to sit at the feet of someone. But then Spirit says, would you?
no,
Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Because
Yeah.
I've
I
done
get
it
that a
before, and
lot.
then I go, I'd love that, but then at the same time, um, I would struggle because I've been there and it can feel culty.
mm,
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Where you're not like having your own original epiphanies. It's kind of like what your guru tells you is what you take on. And I like the journey of having my own original epiphanies and spirit talking to me.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
I've had that a couple of times when I've gone to think about doing courses. You sort of see a course come up and I go, "Oh, I'd really like to do that." And then I get that, like you say, you get spirit goes, "Do you really need to do that? Do you
Mm.
really need to go on that course? Don't you already know that? You're just not listening." And I go, "Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Okay. That's fair enough." So I've had it with a different thing, but yeah, I can
Mm,
appreciate that. I can appreciate that. There's always,
mm.
there's always something that just you sort of go, "Oh, that'd be really cool," and then you go, "Do I really need to?" I don't. Yeah, I agree with you.
I
The
think I
India
like
thing.
it more for the aspect that you would for like 6 months just have fuck all to do. And you're just like not no
But
pressure.
you
Does that
wouldn't.
make sense? No pressure. No pressure about anything. You're just sitting at the foot of the guru, or you're, sitting with groups. Like I used to think, oh, I'd love to live in a commune. No, 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 I don't want it anymore. But for years I was like, oh,
Oh, see, that's
commune
not
life
actually
would be
bad for you.
awesome. It would be absolutely awesome. No, no, now it's like my worst nightmare. But for years I just thought, but really reality was is that it was fear of standing on my own.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, fear of learning things on my own. It was like needing that from other people. And
It's
I'm not
interesting,
there
isn't it?
anymore like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting how we're all very different in our ways of what we've wanted or needed or different bits. I think
Mm.
I'm the one that hates people the most. I really get that feeling.
Oh, I have moments. I have moments when I'm all peopled out, you know.
Mm.
But I have a sanctuary, don't I? So
You
I mean,
do.
we
My
love our
home's my sanctuary now. Like this home for me is like I'm not holding on to it so much that if I lost it, I'd be sad. Don't get me wrong, my human side would be very sad if we were like, oh, we're going to sell it, the landlord or whatever, we're going to sell it or whatever. I'd be desperately sad. But this home does it feels like my sanctuary. Does that make
mm.
sense? Like I just feel, yeah, yeah. So I get that. I get that. Even my dog comes and sleeps in this office because I do a lot of energy work in just this little area here. And like the plants, they're like, and you have plants all over the other house, but they really thrive. And my dog just comes and in here just really feels peaceful. And like I just, even in this one corner of the house, it just feels lovely. Yeah, so yeah, but you could create your own sanctuary anywhere.
Yeah.
mm,
I want to
Of
let
course.
everyone know that you don't have to have the perfect house. You don't have to have this or that. That's what we're talking about. It's about your energy coming to that point of being healed enough and stuff where you go, it's good.
mm. You could have
Things
a
are good.
windowsill and a first floor flat as long as you've got your own little bit.
Exactly. 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 Life is good because it's
Because it's
me.
from here, isn't it? Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when in here it's good, it sort of ripples out to the world around, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that was
Shall we end it
nice.
there?
I
Yeah,
think
that
it's a
was
nice place
lovely.
to end. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Wow. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, well, lots of
Thank you.
love and light out there. I heard someone say that. Hannah McIntyre said that the other day. I know she doesn't watch this, but you know the medium? She's went lots
Yeah.
of love and light. She was moaning about something at the end. She was like, love and light.
I love Hannah McIntyre. She's good.
Oh. Well, until next time, guys. See you later.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, bye from me and the ponies. Oh, and the sheep.
Oh.
Aw, did lush. Take care,
Bye
everyone.
for now.
Bye for now.